Most of the composers I know, their contention might be called this unspoken presupposition that no matter what kind of compositional method is employed, any attempt to form really new patterns. This has been my experience with my peers. Any attempt to form really new patterns is evidence of a stubborn and unjustified contempt towards certain groups of people. For example, those supposedly anti-democratic composer would not expect to possess exceptional talent or natural ability, as though this were happening in the context of a larger system of subordination, for example, Eurocentrism, at the expense of other cultures. The unbearable irony here, though, is that the reputation composers have for cultural activity has more to do with a kind of self-righteous moralization of pan-cultural conservancy rather than the initiation of human intellectual achievement, something that's generally associated with Europe and the Western world with regard to its culture. Speaking of which, the development of music in the West during the last 100 years documents precisely that pretense to culture, which has grown to become a commercially supported inhibitor of what could very easily become a music productive singularity. This explains the origin of certain platitudinous ideas like music is the universal language, propagated by supercilious, arrogant humanism, which is in turn supported and encouraged by a consumerist and commercialist society. Competent people, but incompetent people alike, both the Gnostic and the Nietzsche alike, can be found willing to argue with a more conservative person, and I don't mean that politically. But what doesn't seem human to the public should in fact be found very inhuman indeed. This itself is the fallacious argumentum ad populum. It would seem that a campaign was begun some time ago, which is still going on, to inform us that whatever a composer does, whether or not it's done according to some rules which are either inherent in or imposed upon, the material used, each listener's particular experience of it, regarded as a kind of ultimate measurement, determines what it suggests to him or her, and what are or are not the important features of the work heard. What has to be suppressed, therefore, seems to be everything that disallows this self-indulgent use of the measuring rod in the pursuit of human understandability. And so the long and the protracted attempt of composers to convince their opponents of the anthropocentricity of what they do really rather needs to come to an end. Another way of putting it is to simply let the music speak for itself.